What is happening, all you amazing Mets fans out there? Welcome to the Amazing Mets Fancast. The 2022 season has unfortunately come to an end. The New York Mets lost in the wild card series to the San Diego Padres. And unfortunately, our 100-win team, the New York Mets of 2022, did not make it out of the wild card round. Won one game, lost two. Very disappointing. I know I'm a little late to the party on discussing it since it happened a few days ago, but unfortunately, I could not live stream last week and I could not put up any of my thoughts on video as I was on vacation. So, took a nice long vacation with my family this weekend. Was able to catch most of the games in between, but just unfortunately wasn't able to do anything on video or talk about it on here on the show. So, I know I'm late to the party, but I'm going to discuss it a little bit. But the main topic tonight that we're going to get into is who should stay and who should go from the 2022 Mets roster as they embark on free agency or arbitration. Potentially could lose a lot of players, potentially could keep some. So who stays, who goes? I'm going to give you my thoughts on that in just a little bit. And then to close out the show, I'm going to look at the person. It's a dream. It's a pipe dream, but it could maybe happen. And that's going to be the topic of what free agent would I love to see us get, or who would I like to see us get in a trade in the offseason in 2022. So somebody we can line up either via trade or free agency that would be a dream player for the New York Mets. So I'll close out the show tonight discussing that. But let's break down the end of the 2022 season. Oh, well, very disappointing. In a nutshell, we just did not live up to the expectations that we had for ourselves going into the postseason. Yes, it was crippling to lose out on the division to Atlanta, but any good team, if you're the real team that's going to win the World Series, you need to be able to win all the big games no matter what. Losing the division was a tough blow, but we still should have gone into this series and been a lot more prepared. We had our two aces on the mound in game 1 and 2. One delivered, one didn't. As much as I love Max Scherzer, unfortunately, Max Scherzer did not deliver in game 1. He got absolutely destroyed by the San Diego Padres, and very much not like Max's normal pitching outings. He got crushed here on game 1. Very unfortunate. Know a lot of Mets fans, myself included, were thinking Max was going to be able to win that game and pull it out. But unfortunately, we also ran into Yu Darvish, who has always been a Mets killer, and nothing was different on this evening. Yu Darvish only gave up one run to the Mets, and that was game 1 for us. Very disappointing loss in game 1. Game 2, completely different story. Jacob deGrom looked very good out there. Very, very good. Very crisp, very sharp. Worked himself out of a few situations. But the Mets were easily able to win that game, even up until the 9th inning when it got a little bit hairy. But with the exception of that 9th inning, easily we won this game. And the Mets team was hitting correctly at the big moments, the big power from Lindor and Alonso in that game. McNeil came through as always. We were able to win game 2 and go into the tiebreaker, which a lot of people thought was going to go in our favor because we had Chris Bassett on the mound. Unfortunately, Bassett did not deliver again, as he did not deliver in Atlanta in that very important game. And Bassett got absolutely smoked by the Padres. The Mets got crushed that evening, 6-1. It was a very, very crippling defeat for the Mets fan base out there. But I want to look at the optimistic side of it. I don't think anybody projected that the Mets team was going to be winning 101 games this year. I think at best, most people thought they were going to reach the wild card. So this season was a success, in my opinion. So in the second year under Steve Cohen, the new owner from now and going into his third season next season, but just concluded his second season under his regime, the Mets have improved dramatically from a very terrible performance at the end of 2021 to cap off that season, only getting 77 wins. And ended up turning it into a 101 win team that many people thought could have gone all the way. It was a big success, even though it's disappointing that we didn't go further into the playoffs. Of course, everybody wants a World Series, but I don't think anybody ever predicted the Mets would do as good as they did this season in the beginning of it. We had the Jacob deGrom question. Was he going to come back? Was he ever going to come back healthy? We didn't get him back till the second half. The Mets performed tremendous in his absence all season. Max Scherzer was a star most all of the year, except when he was out on the injured list. But we didn't really know what we were going to get going into the season. Other than that, we were going to have Max Scherzer up on the mound, and he was going to be leading the way for this team as it started off. And it didn't happen that way early in the season. Tyler McGill had to come in on day one and open up. We had our new pitcher with we had new pitchers this year that really were able to do some different things for us into the starting rotation. David Peterson came on strong. Trevor Williams had good outings. Cookie Carrasco came back from a very disappointing 2021. Walker came back to really shut down a lot of the critics in that time frame as well. And a free agent acquisition that we got with not free agent, but a trade acquisition we got, meaning with Chris Bassett, was something that paid off for a lot of the season for us too. But still, nobody thought this team was going to go further than probably 90 to 91 wins in a wild card berth. So it's hard to get disappointed with them when we outdid our expectations. End of the season sucks. I get it. I'm with you. I'd love to still be there covering the games right now with everybody, but it didn't work out that way for us. We got to look long term, not just short term. In long term, we got a lot of questions that need to be answered here for the Mets team going into 2023. We have lots of free agents. There's some big players that are out there on the free agent market that can really boost this Mets team, because a lot of glaring weaknesses were showed in the New York Mets team this year. We need a good amount of bullpen help, I think, still. I know Edwin Diaz was fantastic. Ottavino had great moments. Seth Lugo had great moments. But we need to do some stuff with the bullpen. We need to get some more power and pop into our lineup without it just being Pete Alonso and Francisco Lindor most of the time. We need to get some big bats in there. We also need more consistency at our DH, and that could come along with the big bat that we need. We need some bigger pop and bigger production from the designated hitter spot, and the catching position is going to be something that we really need to look at and continue to look at. James McCann is straight terrible. He's awful. He's an absolute liability anytime he gets up there to hit. He is nothing good at the plate. He's not the player that he once was. He's a terrible free agent signing that we're stuck with. We need some life at that catcher's position. Tomas Nido came on strong at the end of the season, but is he the long-term answer? Of course not. We got Francisco Alvarez in the waiting that could be that answer at catcher. So there's a lot of gaps and things that we need to fill in the offseason. We're going to look at a lot of it over time throughout the offseason until we get to the spring training time, and still until we start getting to the games again in a few months. And it's going to be a lot of topic of our discussion here on the show in the near future. Make sure you drop your comments right down in the comment section right there as you're watching this. I will not get to them right away because I am pre-taping this in advance so I can put it out at a normal time for everybody. So I want that to also be said with, I will get to your comments. I'll write back to them. I'll look at them in future episodes. So I want you to put your comments on, even if I'm not live streaming, which I'm not right now. But I want to hear those comments. I want you to put whatever you think in there as we go throughout the shows, and make sure to drop them below, because I will get to them and I will read them. With that said, we just talked about the disappointing season, or the disappointing end to the season. Now it's time to look at 2023. What are we going to do? Where are we going in 2023? Who are we going to get rid of? Who are we going to keep from the free agency class of that 2022 New York Mets roster? So I compiled a list of free agents, the people that are going to be having the ability to either opt out of their contract or are unrestricted free agents. And then we're going to look at the people that I think we should get rid of, those I think we should stay with, those I think that we should keep and make sure that we offer contracts to. It may surprise you, some of the ones that I have on this list here. Maybe it won't. I don't know. And once again, I want to hear your thoughts and your feedback on everything. So drop those comments below. Let me know who you're thinking we should get rid of. Who should we keep? I also put a thread up that I'd love for them. I'm going to read comments on later on, which I'll talk about at the end of the show. But here is my list of people that I think we should look into cutting or keeping in 2023. So here is the free agent list of all the free agents and all the ones who are due for arbitration, and I'll break down their stuff just a little bit for you. So the first one for free agency is Jacob deGrom, the New York Mets ace, the man that can do just about anything on the pitching mound to anybody at any point in time that he wants. He has the ability and has already said he will be opting out of his contract at the end of this season. He will be chasing a bigger and longer contract in free agency. So Jacob deGrom, number one. Chris Bassett has a $19 million mutual option for the next season. So both parties, the Mets and Bassett, have to agree on that option. Cookie Carrasco has a club option for $14 million. Taijuan Walker has a $7 million player option. So he's the one, if he wants the money for this, if he wants the $7 million, he's the one that has to put the player option here. Whereas Cookie has the club option. The Mets hold the power there for Cookie. Will they keep him? Will they keep Walker? We'll talk about that in a bit. Unrestricted free agents, Edwin Diaz, our star closer, our center fielder, Brandon Nimmo, our relieving core of Adam Ottavino, Seth Lugo, Trevor May, Trevor Williams, and then one of our bench players who we acquired in a trade at the trading deadline, Tyler Naquin. So that's the list of the free agents that are coming up for the Mets, or the people who are eligible for arbitration in the offseason this year as we head into 2023. So who would stay? Who goes? Here are my picks for who stays first. This is my number one right here, Edwin Diaz. No doubt about it. Edwin Diaz is the number one person, in my opinion, that you need to sign in the offseason from this current roster. He looked absolutely tremendous in 2022 and has looked phenomenal every year for the Mets, except for that first awful rookie season that he had, where he was just getting used to the fan base, just getting used to the city, just getting used to the big time feel of New York. Edwin Diaz has been the best reliever in baseball for the last several years. This year, no doubt about it, was the lights out closer of the year, potential Cy Young candidate. Edwin Diaz is somebody that we need to pay the money to. Whatever he needs, whatever it takes to keep him, Edwin Diaz is our guy. Now, I looked up numbers and I did some research on what people are kind of projecting a few of these people are going to be getting, and I'll mention some of those numbers here. So Edwin Diaz is looking at probably a $20 million a year contract to be the closer for the New York Mets, an unprecedented contract for a closer. I think he's 100% worth it. I think everything about him is what the Mets need. If it's not the showmanship of his entrance, to the tenacity that he comes out with on the mound, he's probably my favorite person on the Mets to watch consistently when he's able to get out there for his relief appearances. And a $20 million a year contract, while it's a ton of money, as we can all attest to, because most all of us probably will never see that type of money in our lifetime, I think Edwin Diaz is totally worth it. I would give him a 4 to 5 year contract to lock him in for the near future at that $20 million a year rate, which is about what I think he'll command on the free agency market. So first person I say that stays, Edwin Diaz. Next person I want to see stay is Jacob deGrom. Jacob deGrom came back from injury. I know he has an injury history that he's plagued with a little bit, but I really think those issues are behind him. While he's nearing around 35 years old now, I would not go with a long-term contract for Jacob deGrom. I'd be very happy to see probably a 4 to 5 year contract for him. And I would suspect that I think deGrom commands around $35 to $40 million per year. I think he needs to be a complete person that the Mets go after. They offer him a fair contract, a fair agreement, make it work with them. But you got to do it within those parameters of about 4 to 5 years. And I'd say probably 35 to 40 million a year is what deGrom is probably going to get. What's the likelihood of it? 50-50, I think, for deGrom coming back. I think Edwin Diaz is definitely coming back. I think deGrom is a 50-50, folks. So if you're a big deGrom fan and want to see him on the roster in 2023, I do too. And I think it's something we need to do. And I think it's something we need to pursue really heavy, but it's not something I would 100% bank on either. Very much, I think it's a 50-50 shot that we're able to continue to have the services of Jacob deGrom. It's going to be interesting to see that, but I would keep him. I would do just about anything we can do within reason to make sure that we get Jacob deGrom in 2023. Also staying, I would keep Taijuan Walker. Taijuan Walker really had some great moments in 2022 as he did in 2021. Yes, he had a rough second half of the season in 2021, but who on the Mets probably didn't? And Walker had a very solid season in 2022, and I don't think he's somebody that would break the bank to re-sign. The money that you would spend on a Cookie Carrasco and his $14 million option is what I would put at Taijuan Walker to retain his services. I think he's a great pick for a number 4 performer in the pitching rotation. Number 5, if you really want to keep him down there still, but I think he is a phenomenal person that we need to keep with the right price and the right value attached to him. Meaning, I think he's worth about 14 to 15 million a year, and I'd like to see them sign him to probably a 3 to 5 year contract as well. I think he's very worthwhile at it. Age and time is still in his favor. I believe he's only 29 years old. So there's lots of good years left in Taijuan Walker, and I think that we should extend an offer to Taijuan. He's somebody I would also like to see stay. Next would be Seth Lugo. I think Seth Lugo has proven his value in the bullpen for the most part. And I think he's done a fantastic job. I don't think he would cost a tremendous amount of money to retain. I would see Seth Lugo probably getting a $3 to $5 million a year contract, probably a 2 to 3 year agreement. And I think that's a real fair market for Seth Lugo. I'd like to see him stay for that reason. And I think he could continue to be a really good and contributing member to the Mets bullpen into 2023 and beyond if the Mets choose that they want to keep him. So I'm going to stick with Seth Lugo. I think he has a much bigger upside than some of the other relievers I'm probably going to say let's get rid of here when I get to that portion in just a minute. But I'm going to keep and hold on to Seth Lugo. And the final one I'm going to hold on to from the Mets 2022 roster is Brandon Nimmo. Brandon Nimmo is one of my favorite players on the team. He's got tremendous hustle and tenacity every time he gets out there, and always invested in the game, loves the fans, loves New York. Tremendous center fielder, very good out there, very, very serviceable glove, good arm strength to him, very consistent and good hitter. He's always a hard out to get. Not a guy that's going to get you 30 to 40 home runs a year, but he's going to get you a good 16 to 20 home runs a year. He's going to get on base a lot. He's going to have a big on base percentage. He's going to hit very good for average, probably the 270 to 280 mark consistently every year. And I think he's only going to get better as the years come. He's only 30 years old. I think he's got a lot of upside to him for a long-term agreement. And I think he's a much cheaper option in center field than some of the other free agents that might be out there, like an Aaron Judge. Now, would I rather have Aaron Judge out there than Brandon Nimmo? Yeah, I would. But we also have to be realistic of price figures and what everybody's going to cost. And we can't buy every single major star that's going to the market. So I think Brandon Nimmo is a great person to keep at center field. He's going to get you a lot from his play, not only offensively, but defensively. So I would sign a Brandon Nimmo. And I think Brandon Nimmo gets in the free agent market a good $20 million a year as well. I think he's earned that right. I think he's going to get paid very well. Do I think he's going to be coming back? I do think Brandon Nimmo is going to come back. I think there's a really high likelihood that that does happen because I think the Mets' money can be spent elsewhere in free agency or via a trade and long-term extensions that I'm going to talk about later. And I think that he would be a great fit to keep in 2023. So I'm all for keeping Brandon Nimmo. Who do I let walk now? Who goes? Chris Bassitt, to me, he goes. I love Chris Bassitt. I appreciate everything that he's done for us this year. Chris Bassitt was a very, very good pitcher. I think the price tag that he's going to command is going to be way more than he's worth. And I think we could better use that money elsewhere to pursue other options or to continue to sign bigger pieces of our puzzle. And I just don't think that Chris Bassitt is somebody that I would like to see back in 2023 for those reasons, as well as the fact is I just don't see the domination in pitching that Chris Bassitt has, like a DeGrom or a Max Scherzer does when they get out there. Bassitt is a very pesky pitcher, very slow, very prodding. He gets out there. He's not flashy. He's not going to get you a million strikeouts. He's going to get in and out of a lot of trouble all throughout the game. He's going to make you nervous. He's going to do all those things. Usually it works out pretty well for him. Oftentimes, though, it doesn't as well, as we saw the last two outings of the season for him against Atlanta and then San Diego. He can get himself into a lot of trouble. Usually can work out of it, sometimes can't. And I think that is a little bit of a negative and liability for the team going in. And I think we can invest money elsewhere because I just don't think he's going to be worth the price tag of the $20 to $25 million a year range that he's going to command. So for that reason, I'm going to let Chris Bassitt walk. I'm also going to let Cookie Carrasco walk. I like Cookie as a person. I think he's got some great moments as a pitcher. I can see the Mets holding on to him, though, because his option is for only $14 million. He could be a very, very easy $14 million solution to one of the spots in the rotation for them and Hopefully they could get the same production they got out of him this year with a 15-7 mark that he had, close to a 4 ERA. He's going to get hit. He's not always going to be as dominant either as Bassett. I'd rather have Walker to me. That's why I wanted to keep Walker over him. That's why I let Cookie Carrasco walk and go elsewhere. I think Walker's a better fit, or somebody else on free agency might be a better fit than him in our rotation. So I don't know what you think about Carrasco. That's my opinions on him, and as well as with Bassett. The chances of those two coming back, I think Cookie's probably got a 75% chance of coming back. And for Bassett, I think we got about a 20% chance of it. I don't think there's going to be a ton of interest after his last two outings from the Mets to retain his services for a hefty price tag in 2023. So Cookie and Bassett, they're going to go for me. Next ones that are going to go, Adam Ottavino, Trevor May, Trevor Williams. These three in the relieving portion of our team, of the relievers, of the bullpen, have had some great moments, all of them. Maybe not so much with Trevor May. Trevor May never did it for me. Not somebody you could trust out there. But Ottavino, Williams, they did some great things throughout the season. Maybe they stay, maybe they go. I'm going to let Ottavino walk. Every time he's out there, he scares the shit out of me. He's the easiest pitcher to run off of due to his slow delivery, his slow release. Everything that he does with his windup, everything that he does as a pitcher is slow. He gets easily ran on all the time. It's almost impossible for them to ever throw anybody out with him. He has some wonderful moments, but he's also got some scary moments. Every time he gets out there, he always scares the shit out of me that he's going to give up tons of runs. He's another one like Bassett that works himself in and out of trouble often, but was also a very, very serviceable reliever for the Mets in 2022. So does he come back? I think there's a good likelihood he does. Would I bring him back for me, fantasy booking here for 2023? Nope. I'm going to let Adam Ottavino go, along with Trevor May, as I just discussed. Not much more to say on Trevor May. Trevor Williams, I think, is somebody that's going to go because they need to be starting somewhere. He needs an opportunity to start as a number 5 person, maybe a number 4 in somebody else's rotation. He needs to get that experience, and I think he wants to go after it, and I don't blame him for it. He filled in very well often for us this year as when we went down with various injuries with some of our pitchers. I think Trevor Williams would be a great asset to any team. I just don't think it's going to be with the Mets because I don't think the Mets are going to have that to offer him, nor are they willing to offer him a starting spot in 2023. So I think Trevor Williams is going to take a walk for that reason. The last person on the list is not a pitcher who I say let him go. Tyler Naquin had a couple of good moments after he got traded. Had a few good hits, home runs, things like that really helped out for the team. Maybe won it a few times. Other than that, Tyler Naquin doesn't have a lot of upside to me. I think he's on the downward spiral of his career, the downward side of it. And as you saw in the Atlanta series and at other points after Marte got hurt when he came in, he just hasn't produced big time for us after we traded him. And I don't think he's capable of being a very consistent and big time performer for any team. Even coming off the bench, I'd love to see Tyler Naquin not on the team in 2023. Wish we could get rid of Ruff and McCann, but that's another topic for another time. Let's close out the show, though, and let's look at my kind of dream person that maybe could be a free agent that we pick up in 2023 or via trade, which in this case is the way that I would go. I put this question up in a lot of the different Mets groups. I put it up on our Facebook page, Amazing Mets Fancast. Follow it on Facebook, please. Make sure you like and follow it. And I put this up there about who was a big free agent that you all think. And I will read some of those on the next show. So make sure you keep popping them out there on the message boards, on the links that I provided, or on our Facebook page. And I'll make sure to read your comments, or I'll get back to them on those because I got a lot of comments about this when I put it up about who I would pick via free agency or via a trade for the Mets to grab in 2023 as a big marquee player that I think we need and could do an amazing thing for our team. And for me, I'm going to go with the trade. I say the Mets need to trade for Shohei Ohtani. I know a lot of people love Shohei Ohtani, and I'm one of them. This guy is designed to play in New York to me. He's exciting. He's fun. He's going to bring a huge fan base with him. He's a once-in-a-lifetime special player. Plays both sides as a DH, hitting for power all the time. Great hitting for average as well. Guy just a stud hitter, and he's a hell of a pitcher too. So you get a dual threat in Shohei Ohtani. Now, he just signed a 1-year extension with the Angels for $30 million. So he got paid on his first big extension after his rookie contract in Major League Baseball. And Shohei Ohtani got a nice sizable raise from $5 million a year to $30 million a year for 2023 as the Angels picked up that option. So you might be saying there's no way they're going to trade him now that they signed the extension. I don't agree with that. I do not agree with that at all. Shohei Ohtani is worth that type of money based upon the market value and the people that are out there hitting now and what people are getting paid. Shohei Ohtani is well worth $30 million a year, not just for 2023, but for the long-term future. He's young. He has a lot of time left with them or in his career. And I think the Angels would still be willing to move him for the right price. Now, only way I trade for Shohei Ohtani is if he signs a long-term contract extension before the trade happens. His new extension with the Angels for 2023 at that $30 million apparently has a no trade clause attached to all 29 teams in Major League Baseball. The only team, apparently, I don't know if this is fact or if this is rumor, but I'm pretty sure it's written in there. I saw reported on a bunch of different websites, but Shohei Ohtani, the only team that he said that he would allow a trade for, so he's got a full no trade clause to every team but the Mets. Epler was his general manager in Anaheim. He's responsible for bringing him to the Angels, he's now with the Mets. They have a very solid relationship. Shohei Ohtani fits the market in New York. I think he would thrive in it. So as long as he would sign a long-term contract extension, I believe the New York Mets in the 2022 offseason going into 2023 season should make the trade for Shohei Ohtani, barring he signs a long-term contract extension. He solved so many of our needs with power, adding another big bat to the lineup, to the Pete Alonsos, to the Francisco Lindors. We got that power element where we're going to get a good 30 to 40 home runs a year from this guy as long as he stays healthy, something we desperately needed in 2022. That was a big thing that worked against us in 2022. And he brings that to the table of something that we need. Is he going to cost a lot of money? Absolutely, he's going to cost a lot of money. But you're getting two things for the price of one because he's a hell of a pitcher too, which could allow you to let guys like Walker go, guys like Bassett and Carrasco go, maybe all three of them, and just pick up an Ohtani. And here he is. He's a number 3 or 4 starter right behind DeGrom, right behind Scherzer. Peterson's a great number 5 that you could have fill in here. You could also go after other free agents if you don't want to sign your Walkers, your Bassett's, your Carrascos, or if you keep one of them, you can still pick up an Ohtani. With Ohtani, you get the bat, you get the pitching, you get two things that we're going to need very much in 2023. What do you give for him? You're going to have to give a decent amount for him. And as much as I like these prospects and as much as I like keeping the farm system healthy, keeping it going, keeping it where we're bringing these young talents up, I think sometimes when you're looking at a megastar, you got to give up some things. You got to give up the what ifs. Who knows if these big prospects are going to pan out? Probably will. We got some great prospects in Brett Beatty, Mark Vientos, Francisco Alvarez, of course. Lots of other great people, Ronnie Mauricio in the farm system. Lots of people that we can look at and break down at other points that are in the Mets farm system. But those 4 are probably their top prospects. Alvarez number 1, Beatty number 2, Vientos number 3. I think Ronnie Mauricio's number 4 probably on the Mets' best prospects. Do you give all 4 of them up to the Angels for Ohtani? No, I don't think you do. I think you got to give up 2 of those for an Ohtani. And the 2 that I would be comfortable with giving up as much as I like them and think they have great potential to be stars is, I think to get an Ohtani, it's worthwhile to give up a Brett Beatty and a Mark Vientos over there. It could be a big win for the Angels as they're rebuilding their franchise over the next few years. They have a lot of work to do over there. They have a great young catcher over there named Edgar Queso, who's 19 in their farm system, who they think is going to be their long homegrown talent that they're going to cultivate and develop as their catcher of the future. They think the world of him down there, probably a year or 2 away. So they don't really necessarily need a big prospect at catcher like a Francisco Alvarez. They seem to be very content with this Edgar Queso individual. All the things I read, this kid's got a lot of talent to him too. So keep Alvarez out of the equation. Catching is a big need that we have going into 2023. More power at the position, more production. He's got a lot of work to do. It remains to be seen with him, but I think there's going to be a lot of upside, and I think Francisco Alvarez will be a star. So I say retain him. I don't think the Angels have a need for him with this young catcher. They got Queso, but I think they could very much use the other two. Vientos and Brett Beatty would be very worthwhile for them to grow in whatever positions they might utilize. And Vientos probably going to be used more in a DH role. Brett Beatty's going to be used in the field at third base. So I think those two would be great pieces for us to offer for Shohei Ohtani. Throw in maybe another pitcher to kind of complement the loss that they have, to give them something in return. Throw in a Tyler McGill in there, maybe somebody else. But those are the top two prospects that I would give, along with maybe another piece or two to the pie, meaning like a Tyler McGill or somebody else that you could possibly throw in there with them. So two big prospects, one other fairly proven commodity for the Mets, fairly decent players that we know are going to give them something that could help fill maybe some of the needs they would lose from Shohei Ohtani. I think this could be done. I think it's something you might see in the offseason this year. I think the Mets make a real hard play at Shohei Ohtani and seeing what they can do to grab the services of him and locking him in for the long term. Unless there's a long-term extension, there's no way in hell I'm doing that trade. But that's my little bombshell about who somebody I think should be a person we should target for 2023. And I think he would fill a ton of those needs. So once again, drop your comments right here on this link right here on Facebook or YouTube. What do you think about it? What do you think about some of the things we talked about tonight? And I want to hear your picks and your predictions. Who should stay and who should go in 2023 on the free agent roster? I put a post up on our Facebook page, the Amazing Mets Fancast on Facebook. I put a post up over there so you can drop your comments in there. And I also posted all the big major Mets groups on Facebook. So put your comments on there, whether it's in the message boards and the message groups, or if it's on our Facebook page, and I will get to them on the next episode to see what you all think of the people we should keep and who we should let go in 2023. So I'll read those on the next podcast that we do. Hear what your thoughts are. I'm interested to hear it. I've heard a few already on the Shohei Ohtani stuff. Actually, more than a few. I heard some great insight. So lots of fun stuff to talk about when I read the mailbag, so to speak, from all the different message groups and from our Facebook page. So make sure you like this Facebook page, the Amazing Mets Fancast, and also follow us on YouTube, Amazing Mets Fancast. And I will start putting a lot of stuff up on audio as well. So check it out on all major podcast outlets. And most importantly, hit the like and follow button and the subscribe button on YouTube, so that way you can get notified every time we drop a lot of content. The season might be over, but it's not here, as we're growing this project on the Amazing Mets Fancast. Lots of fun stuff to come in the future in 2023 and beyond. And then there's going to be a lot of fun discussions in the offseason. So if you're a Mets fan, this is the place for you. And I want to hear what you think. So come back and join us later on. I'll do some more live streams. That way we can do some live stuff in the future. And I hope everybody's doing well out there. So thanks for checking out the Amazing Mets Fancast. And I'll see everybody again real soon right here on the show.